It's September 2nd, 2024, and I'm talking with Mr. John J. Jeckovich, World War II veteran from the Battle of the Bulge. He was with Company H, 2nd Battalion, 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. Mr. Jeckovich, what's your dog tag number?
421-965.
Okay, that's the key to open up. We're in Studio 6A, and we're reading Mr. Jeckovich's book, Their Mother's Sons, and we're on Chapter 16 on page 476. There's almost 900 pages of this book Mr. Jeckovich wrote probably 25 years ago. And this is Mr. Jeckovich. He left Germany, and now he's back home in Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
Niagara Falls. You were a lifelong resident and did you well. You love Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls.
And we're talking about Mr. Jeckovich getting resettled into civilian life. How are you doing today, Mr. Jeckovich?
I'm doing tip-top.
You're looking very nice in your new sweatshirt, your new pants and shoes, recently shaved, and a haircut. And
yeah, I was told to shave, yeah.
And your hair and your nails are polished, but you look very nice in that blue sweater. I know that you like ODs better, right?
Yeah, olive drab.
That's your favorite color. So tell us how you're feeling today.
How am I feeling?
Yeah.
Tip-top.
Yeah, you're looking and acting very chipper. So that's good. That's good. I'm going to start reading now, but before I do you want to start reading or you want me to?
No, go on. You read.
Okay, you want to just tell us just a couple paragraphs about how it was getting back home for the first time after the war ended? What was it like?
What?
Getting back home as a civilian after putting in 4 years of the war. What was it like?
Hard to adjust.
Tell us what some of the problems were. Tell us what it was about. Tell us what it was like.
Coming back?
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at the stuff I've seen for years here at home, and actually it doesn't make any sense. I had more sense in the war.
Okay.
I didn't do anything at home. Just do what my mother said, do this, do that.
Yeah.
How the hell I get this?
You need some help with that?
I had it turned
yourself
up before too.
So you felt more situated when you were at World War II than you were getting back home.
What?
You felt more confident. You felt like you belonged more at World War II than you were at home.
Well, home was regular routine. Here we go.
Regular routine. Like, what was that routine about?
Getting up in the morning, breakfast, find out what you got to do today, do this, do that, do this, go here, go there. Regular routine.
I see.
American living.
Okay. All right. Did you want to add anything, or you want me to start reading?
Go ahead.
Okay. While working on one day in a dingy basement, I read Red Schooner, an ex-Canadian Air Force veteran. After several meetings and discussions, we decided to form a partnership selling and installing oil-fired furnaces. So oil-fired furnaces were a big thing when you got back.
Oh yeah, the conversions, yeah.
Was Red living in Canada or the New York side?
The what?
Was Red Schooner living on the Canadian or the American side?
On the Canadian side,
Okay. And he just came across the border every day to work with you?
I guess, yeah.
I'll be damned. It seemed like a well-planned out venture, but after several weeks, it had dissolved after my partner absconded with our first real profit. So that wasn't a very good beginning.
Yeah, he ran back to Canada.
What's that?
He ran back to Canada, never seen him again.
Never heard from him again. That left me without a job and once again feeling the rancor of my mother's scorn. One bit of disturbing news was affected me greatly was the more frequent news over the radio and even in the newspapers of losing the battle the French were having in Indonesia with the Vietnamese Liberation Army. I recall Renee mentioning something about the terminal in that part of the world and how she was distressed over the great losses the French Foreign Legion were suffering at the hands of the Vietnamese. At the hands of the...
Foreign Legion was getting licked, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She hinted that if she returned to complete her religious orders, she would volunteer to serve in that country. It came all back to me within a vivid clarity, and I could even recall the angelic expression on her face as she spoke those words. I was home a little over 6 months, and I felt as I have never left. So now you're home a half a year, and it felt like you've always been there.
Yeah, never left, yeah.
And all the memories that you have of World War II are just distant
Passing away,
memories.
yeah.
Distant memories.
Off the screen.
Yeah. It was more like a sentence for doing something wrong, and I must pay the price for it. When I thought of Anne, it suddenly appeared that I had never been in Owensboro. All we had experienced together had never happened, and I had never left this place. It was difficult to realize at this stage that I once had something wonderful and exhilarating, and that I let it slip through my fingers for some mystic, inexcusable conundrum that I would never understand. I would pay the price for this, thinking the rest of my life. As if I did not have enough contending with Mother and Sally, Stephen Lookie returned home in early fall. Okay, so now you have your mother, your sister, and now your two brothers have returned home.
Yeah, but they're not going to be around. Lookie won't be around. Steve won't be around.
Okay, let's see what he
Turn
says.
all the damn lights off.
Steve spent a few weeks at home just to eat and sleep, and he was out most of the time. It did not bother Mother the slightest, as she would try to make his stay comfortable. Any of his friends to the house, she would attempt to have something prepared beforehand to please him. So let me understand, your brother came home, he basically just ate and slept there, and he brought his friends over. And your mother just tried to cook dinners for her Steve's friend. Steve's friend, right?
Who?
You said here in the book that Steve just basically ate and slept there, and when Steve would bring his friends over, your mother would make them all some type of dinner of some type.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jimmy Duncan.
Okay, whatever happened to Jimmy Duncan?
Now?
Whatever happened to Jimmy?
I don't know.
Didn't all your years after the war in Niagara Falls bump into Jimmy Duncan?
Well, I didn't know him. Stevie knew him. I didn't know him.
Uh-huh.
Well, I knew him. That was Stevie's buddy.
It never occurred to me that Mother, she played an entirely different role. When it came to Steve for what she displayed to me, when I would remark about it occasionally, she would brush it aside and say, as I was jealous and envious, all that she treated all of us the same. Did she treat all of the people the same? Your mother said she treated everyone the same. Is that true?
No.
Oh. Okay. I would never pursue it any further, knowing that I could never convince her of otherwise. Besides, in all probability, she sincerely felt that she did treat all of us the same. Steve left for school at the beginning of the next semester. Looky, that's your other brother, right?
Yeah, younger brother.
Younger brother. Steve was your older brother, right?
Who?
Steve was your older brother.
He was old.
Okay.
I was the middle.
All right, let me try to understand this. Looky was somewhat in my position, but left to his own devices, he soon became independent about anything going on at home. He would come and go pretty much at his own discretion, although Mother disapproved of some of his conduct. He was never badgered regarding it. At times, it just dumbfounded me. The cavalier attitude she would display regarding his behavior. It was as if he was saying, "He is my youngest and last son, so let him have his fling and enjoy himself." Mother got him in the job, the same place she worked, but he was not happy there, and he took much time off and began drinking. Why didn't your mother get you a job in Carborundum?
Get me a job at Carborundum?
She got Looky a job in Carborundum.
Looky had a job at Carborundum?
Here's what you said. Let me read it back to you. Mother got him, meaning Looky, a job at the same place she worked, but he was not happy there. As he took too much time off and began drinking again.
Well, he never had that job. He never stayed there a week at a time.
I got you. Looky and I picked up where we left off several years ago. We did not communicate at all, and we did not have much in common. He reverted to his old drinking buddies and was out most of the time. He embarrassed Mother with all the time he took off, and one day finally quit and started attending a business school. Mother did not object to this, and he soon got into a pattern of going to school several hours the afternoons and then staying out late at each night.
Who's this, Lucky?
Yeah. He'd go to school in the afternoons.
I went to that office building school.
Okay.
He wanted to be an office worker or some stupid thing.
Okay. I was at the fact for my brothers were afforded so much discretion and freedom to choose their own way. Where areas with me, it was a continuous hassle, and I seemed to be pegged a narrow, thin line from which I could not deviate one iota. There was never any great moment of crisis. Whenever they wanted to do something, it was as was my case. They could quit their work, go to school, or just lie around and do nothing. There was never great communications which would accompany my shortcomings or my non-performance of anything which was expected and demanded of me. I often questioned the fact of why I was always singled out, as if the entire family responsibility should thrust upon my shoulders, and my shoulders alone. Stephen, Looky, and to the lesser extent Sally, due to her young age, was never accountable for very much of anything, and he usually went about doing anything that pleased their fancy. Looky would miss work constantly, go out all night, and only receive a slight reprimand from Mother. When he began attending school during the day, there was not much said or discussed about his lack of financial support for the family, or even his not doing anything around the house. So no financial support and no chores around the house.
Yeah. Freeloader. He's freeloading.
Where did he sleep? It was a small house.
In the bedroom. And put another bed in there.
Okay. Where did Steve sleep? A small house.
Steve? He didn't, when he came over, I think he slept he stayed with Jimmy Duncan.
Okay. A month before Lookie and Steve returned home, a week after my business partner ran off with our first real profits, I obtained employment at a local industry, a paper mill. It was another stopgap type of thing, something to earn money and keep mothers at a comfortable level. It was a production job which entailed working shift work. It meant working around the clock, alternating every 7 days.
13.
With my mustering out pay and back pay due me while in the hospital, I had saved enough money.
Who was going to the hospital?
When you're in Paris, you went, I'll read the sentence again. With my mustering out pay and my back pay due me while you're in the hospital in Paris, I saved enough money to buy a new Pontiac sedan for $2,865. Was that a new sedan or used?
Used, it was brand new.
Okay, and what type of transmission was in it?
Automatic.
And how many door was it?
4-door. No, 4-door, yeah, 4-door.
4-door. And how many cylinder was it?
6.
6. It was my first car that I owned outright, and while it did not seem as any great achievement to me, it was better than walking or taking a bus. Mother liked it for the convenience it afforded her. I would pick her up from work, take her shopping, and drive her to church on Sunday. So your mother liked the car?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, I can understand that. I also started night school at a local high school to obtain the necessary credits to enter secondary school of college. Mother was a little bit mad about that, but I let it pass. Even though it made me feel uncomfortable and ill at ease, as if we're doing something not expected of me. The shift work at the mill was devastating and created great physical drain on me, especially the midnight to 8 a.m. shift. That shift work is still going on in factories, right?
Oh, yeah, well, it's a rotating shift. It's on 24 hours a day. Now, look, Tom's there now.
Okay,
Yeah, Tom's doing the same bullshit I did.
okay. Okay, shift work. Okay, let me see what else you say here.
He's got a first-class electrician now.
Okay. At home, I never occurred to anyone that I had to get sleep during the day. So you're at home now, you get home at 8 o'clock in the morning because you worked all night, and no one even gave you the consideration of being quiet. You were trying to sleep during the day, right?
Yeah. They did their own business.
I had to get some sleep during the day to be ready for the night's work. Weekends were always hard, with everyone home and doing their normal routine of events during the day. This was the same time that Lookie and Steve arrived home, and they made it more difficult. I felt misplaced working shift work, as if I wasn't available and could not find suitable employment. I became extremely self-conscious about my work and never mentioned it to anyone. I detested the work and the people involved in its operation. I did not make any friends there, but just did my job and pretty well kept to myself. The rest of the crew would get off a shift head for the nearest bar and drink until closing, talking and rehashing the day's events at the mill. I did not want any part of that event, so I stayed clear of it and headed for home when I got off of work. The night school and work around the house kept me busy, but I felt that my life was empty and fruitless. My work at the mill was not fulfilling or satisfying, and it only left an empty void which I had no way of filling. I would think of Renee, and at the time was erasing of all the fond memories of her, and I realized that I could never recapture those moments again. I would think of calling Ann in Owensboro and wondered if she still lived there or if she wanted to see me. I also thought of Jean in Haverford West and how the situation was somewhat similar to mine. She was focused on her immediate family and was willing to forego her own goals and satisfied their wants and desires. Her parents were devoted to her and would never think of denying her anything within the grasp and their ability, in a way that made it more tolerable, which was the sole major item missing in my scenario. With the advent of a purchase of my car, events at home seemed to take a turn for the better. Not that it affected my outlook on my situation, but afforded a change of heart and attitude on Mother's part. I would take her shopping, drive her to church, pick her up from work when I was not working, and generally offer a bit of luxury we had not had since my father passed away. Mother seemed more cheerful and not so defensive always, appearing to be completely overwhelmed by her situation at home. I got the distinct impression that she believed that I had adjusted to my life and in a way perfectly content with it. It was the opposite from the reality of it. As far as I was concerned, nothing had changed. I was not happy with my role in the scheme of things, nor did I feel I was getting anywhere. I really did not know what I wanted to do, but I definitely felt that what I was doing was not worthwhile or adequate.
6 minutes.
I still could not focus on anything for certain, but always had the sense that I was reacting to the situation at home rather than making my own determinations. Steve was always at school most of the time, and when he did come home occasionally, he would go out most of the time with his buddies from the Scouts or with Jimmy Duncan. I felt I could never discuss anything substantial with him directly, as he never seemed to have the time or inclination. After a while, I gave up entirely and drifted apart from an already shrinking association to a complete disassociation. I got the distinct sense of my inadequacies whenever I spoke with him. He had the proclivity to become full of himself and self-assertive, which I found to be completely repulsive. As the years went by, I became less tolerant of his tactics. He was always aloof and distant, as if he were talking to a stranger instead of a family member. Like old Mark Hall said, strangers will treat you better than family. Mark Hall. Looking, on the other hand, was a direct and intolerant of anything that did not concern him directly. He did not want to hear all the nonsense about taking out the ashes or doing chores about the house and helping out in some small way. So he didn't want to hear nothing about the house or anything. Looky.
Yeah.
He didn't want to know nothing.
I didn't want to know nothing, no.
You bring it up, he wouldn't care.
Yeah.
He would go to school for several hours during the day and do some studying for a short while. Then one of his friends would pick him up and he'd be gone most of the time after midnight. At times, he would come home late, slobbering drunk, puke on the bedroom floor where I'd clean it up or smell it all night long. Mother would become disgusted. What's this?
That pomegranate.
What is, do you know what that is? And admonish him. She won't know that one.
Somebody knocking at the door, huh?
Yeah.
I think it's closed now. The neighbor.
Okay, just next door.
Who's that?
Not for us.
Who?
Not for us, just a neighbor, someone next door.
Who?
Not for us, just someone going next door. Okay, let's see where I was. I could, in a way, I envied my brother's lifestyle and wondered when I could not befriend people as they did and obtain a close-knit circle of acquaintances and in effect isolate myself from the environment at home. This would only be a stepping off place to sleep and eat, and the real world would be out there somewhere with my friends, making this all the more tolerable. With the expectation of permanently leaving home at some future date. Where areas in my situation, every petty crisis here at home was my direct responsibility to solve or alleviate. I had no cushion to fall back on. I was conditioned to respond with diligence and my entire being. What was it that made me so far apart from my siblings? What made you so far apart from your siblings?
Huh?
It says, what made you so far apart from your siblings?
From my brothers?
Yeah.
Well, their attitude.
And what kind of attitude was that?
They had their own little sphere of influence, and that was it. The hell's knocking at the stupid
I
door?
think she's picking up trash or something, I'm not sure.
What was it that made me so far apart from my siblings? It was obvious that their approach was more successful than my meager attempts. One was in a highly rated college with a bright future ahead of him, and the other was doing what he wanted, which gave him some comfort and satisfaction. I, on the other hand, was drifting aimlessly with no future to look forward to. Hello, hello. My free time was established network of friends and no definite place to pursue to spend it with. I would drive around at night, seeing a movie with no specific event in mind except to be out of the house for a while. Sometimes I'd go to the library and read to be out of the house for a while, and sometimes, or just browse through the many books. I found it relaxing and looked forward to going there. One afternoon, the beginning of summer, I was sitting at one of the tables of the library reading when a young woman approached and asked if she could share my table. I had seen her here several times, but we never spoke, only exchanged glances. I nodded my consent